Dorset Council Chamber. People wishing to speak must sign up by 6 p.m. by using the Qminder kiosk just outside the council door. Please see the courier for assistance. Please let the record reflect that all meetings are in attendance. Our meeting is being streamed on YouTube and the replay will be available on the city's website tomorrow. Please silence any electronic devices. If you must make or receive a phone call, please do so from outside the chamber. We will begin tonight's meeting with a moment of silence. Thank you. Dr. Wells, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We welcome speakers to address council on specific agenda items. During the first meeting of the month, time is dedicated for speakers to address council on non-agenda items. Speakers are allotted 3 minutes for comments. The city of Greensboro is committed to promoting an environment that is free of discrimination, bias, and bullying. Zoom participants are requested to mute their microphones until they are called upon to speak. All meeting attendees are expected to respect speakers and council deliberations. People disrupting the meeting will be removed from the meeting. By statute, council members must vote on all items unless there is a direct financial interest or if they sit on a board of a nonprofit receiving funding from the city. All votes will be moved and seconded. The mayor will announce the vote total. We do have a request to remove items H1 and H2. I'll read them into the record. H1 is a public hearing for an ordinance annexing territory into the corporate limits for property located at 1309, 1401, 1403, 1405, and 1407 Ridge Point Road, and 3207 and 3211 Cedar Park Road, 5.133 acres, Red Wolf Development Company. And H2, a public hearing for an ordinance for original rezoning and rezoning for 410 to 3410 through 3432 McConnell Road, 1309, 1401, 1403, 1405, and 1407 Bridgepoint Road, and 3207 and 3211 Cedar Park Road. Amanda Hodiern for Red Roof Development Company, LLC. This item was postponed from the November 15th meeting, and it has since been withdrawn by the applicant. I do need a motion. Moved by
Second.
Mrs. Abuzawader and seconded by Mrs. Johnson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Mrs. Hoffman?
Yes.
That passes 9-0. Is that fine to do one motion for both items? Mr. City Attorney?
Yes.
Thank you. Now we will move on to the consent agenda. Items G1 through G10 are a grouping of agenda items that are voted on with one single vote to expedite what are believed to be routine and non-controversial items. Any council member may withdraw an item from the consent agenda due to a conflict of interest or for the purpose of voting no. Items removed from the consent agenda for discussion will be placed on the February 21st City Council business agenda. Moved by Mr. Holston, seconded by Dr. Wells. And we were doing that by voice vote. Correct, Madam Clerk?
Right. It was
Okay.
by
moved by
voice. It
Dudley,
was
seconded by
Dr.
you.
Wells.
Is that an electronic vote or a voice vote?
Yes, ma'am. It's an electronic vote.
Okay, council, please vote.
Councilmember Hoffman,
Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Hoffman?
Yes.
And that passes 9-0. We now move on to the public hearing portion of our agenda. Items H1 and H2 were removed. Items H3 and H4 will be read together. Item number H3 is a public hearing for an ordinance annexing territory into the corporate limits for property located at 4332 Cahill Drive, 4015, 4017, and 4101 South Elm Eugene Street, 1.7 acres, Choice Investment Properties LLC, DHF Holdings LLC. And item H4, a public hearing for an ordinance for original zoning for 3911, 4007, 407 ZZ, 4009, 4011, 4013, 4015, 4017, and 4101 South Elm Eugene Street, and 4209, 4300, 4315, 4318, 4324, and 4332 Cahill Drive. Amanda Hoderian for DHF Holdings LLC. Mr. Kirkman?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Vaughn, members of City Council. The request this evening, most of this has come before council before. This is kind of a part two, if you will, for a request. The request is for annexation and original zoning for a small portion shown here in the hatch that is currently county AG agricultural and RS30 residential single family, as well as a rezoning for property that was previously zoned to city plan unit development. And so the entire property would then be rezoned to city plan unit development. North of this request is currently zoned R3 residential single family. East and south is county RS30 residential single family. And west is county AG as well as city CDCM conditional district commercial medium. Property is mostly undeveloped this time with a couple of single family dwellings. There is a manufactured home park to the north as well as the interstate. To the east and to the south is primarily undeveloped, as well as some single family residences. And then to the west is commercial development along the South Elm Eugene Street with multifamily located further to the west. Again, the area is designated a combination of industrial and residential on the future land use map of the comprehensive plan, and as industrial and urban general on the future built form map. The request does have a number of conditions. I will note for City Council, the only change with this particular request from the last time is that conditions were dropped on tracks 1, 2, and 3 that effectively prohibited the property from being developed until additional property was brought in so that a public street could be built. So that is happening as part of the request this evening. This is planning and development, so there is a unified development plan that goes with that, and that is shown on your screen and has been updated with the additional conditions on there. Staff is recommending approval of the requests. The requests were heard by the Planning and Zoning Commission at their December 19th meeting, and the commission unanimously recommended both the annexation as well as the original zoning and rezoning request, and there were no speakers on that item. So I can answer any questions.
Madam Mayor, move item H3.
I'd love to have moved it myself, but it's okay.
What did you
I'll
say?
just sit down here and be quiet.
I didn't hear her.
Mrs. Hightower, I'm sorry, we couldn't hear you. Oh, she would like to move it.
Fine, I'll second it.
Do we need to close the public hearing, ma'am?
I'm sorry, Mr. Kirkman.
Go ahead.
Well, I think we need to close the public hearing
Councilwoman
first
Hightower.
before the motion. I wasn't sure.
Well, yeah, but we haven't really had a public hearing since nobody spoke.
enough.
Motion to move the public hearing? Close the public hearing? Moved by Mrs. Boozeway, second Mr. Holston. All in favor, say aye. Mrs. Hoffman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The item H3 was moved by Mrs. Hightower,
Second.
seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. Council, please vote. And item H4 will require a statement of consistency. And that passes 9-0.
Move the item.
Moved by Mrs. Hightower, seconded by Mrs. Boozwaiter.
And I'm not getting the screen for my name to press the.
Okay. but we've got you as the movers.
Okay.
Can you read the statement of consistency?
The Greensboro City Council believes that its action to approve the original zoning and rezoning request for the properties described as 3911, 4007, 4007-ZZ, 4009, 4011, 4013, 4015, 4017, and 4101 South Elm Eugene Street, 4209, 4300, 4315, 4318, 4324, and 4332 Cahill Drive from County AG Agricultural County RS 30 Residential Single Family and City PUD Plan Unit Development to City PUD Plan Unit Development with the required Unified Development Plan to be consistent with the adopted GSO 2040 Comprehensive Plan, and considers this action taken to be reasonable and in the public interest for the following reason. The request is consistent with the comprehensive plan, future built form map, and future land use map. The proposed city PUD zoning district as conditioned permits uses which fit the content of surrounding area and inputs and limits negative impact on the adjacent property. And the request is reasonable due to the size, physical conditions, and other attributes of the area. It will benefit the property owner and surrounding community, and approval is in the public interest.
Thank you. Council, please vote. Mrs. Hoffman,
Yes.
and that passes 9-0. Thank you.
I will say, I think that but it's probably passed now, the public hearing, that the developer
ahead.
was on the line in case.
The only person I had signed up to speak was Ms. Hoderian, and we had no questions for her.
Yeah, Mr. Daprati was supposed to be on Kyle, didn't make it.
Councilmember Hightower, he is on Zoom. I got that
Okay.
request late this afternoon. And my understanding was he was there in case council had questions.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I know he was trying to be there.
Thank you. Now we move on to the general business portion of our agenda. Item I.1 is a resolution to approve one-time financial assistance to certain nonprofit organizations receiving ARP-enabled awards to obtain an audit review of their financial records. And these will be for nonprofits who are receiving money from the city of Greensboro for the first time. I believe there were a total of 8. Moved by Mrs. Thurm, seconded by Dr. Wells. I don't have anything up here. Was that moved or seconded?
I seconded it.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Thurm, seconded by Mrs. Hightower. Council, please vote. And that passes 8-1 with Mr. Matheny voting against it. Now that is the end of our general business agenda. We boards and commissions, if you're say who you are placing, Mrs. Hightower,
I don't have anything.
Dr. Wells, Mr. Matheny, Mrs. Hoffman,
None. Thank you, Mayor.
Mrs. Thurm,
None tonight.
Mayor Pro Tem,
No, thank you.
Ms. Abuzawader, and I have none. So no boards or commissions.
And
Council comments. Oh, did I skip you?
yes, but I have none either. Thanks.
Okay, I knew that. Yes. So now we move on to council comments. Mrs. Hightower?
I would like to ask staff if they could give me couple of updates. One of them is on the MSD discussion that we had started some time ago. So if municipal service district that we had talked about, if we could get an update on that, please. And also, I think we've had you sent me some red light camera information. And so I'd like to kind of explore that a little more, if you will. Like to. Also, I would like to say we had a successful return of our MLK parade on yesterday. We had almost 100 participants in the parade, several bands from the school system, that everybody was excited. And also that our own city manager was our grand marshal in the parade. So we want to thank him for agreeing to do that. So he led our parade off. So certainly honored to have him on yesterday. As well as he was joined by our clerk of court, Ms. Lisa Johnson Tompkins, Ms. Johnson, your daughter. So that was successful. I also wanted to offer congratulations to Tamika Brown. She is the first African-American female firefighter captain to be promoted to captain. And so we're very proud of that. It is certainly a milestone. However, it's also kind of sad that in 2022, 23, it is still a first for African Americans to be recognized. But it is still something that we will celebrate. We celebrate her. It's very well deserving. I think many of you may have seen some interviews that she's had on TV. And so very proud of her that she's now serving in that role, and she paves the path and blazes the trail for many, many more in that. So congratulations to her. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Wells?
I participated in two of the celebrations for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday yesterday. I thought that the breakfast was the breakfast was good, the food was good, but the message was good. The speaker was very good. And then I went over to St. James for the interdenominational, I guess, and citywide celebration. Our mayor represented us well there, and Mary Kay was there. And of course, Mayor Pro Tem was there. But the time that we were together yesterday at both of those events, it showed Greensboro as a city that was together. We were all focused on being together and the unity. And I just wish that this would be the atmosphere or the feeling of our community at all times. We all in it together and caring for one another. And Dr. King was about love and the beloved community. So it is my hope that this camaraderie that we shared yesterday, and the love and the hugs and all of that yesterday around the dream, will become a real reality.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, I attended the event at St. James, and I attended the event at Temple Emmanuel on Friday, and Reverend Darren Mitchell was off the chain, as the young people say. I used to say off the phone because that's all I knew, but he was off the chain. He was excellent, and it was a great service. The parade was wonderful. Lots of people out. I was glad to get out and just be able to talk to people and say hello to them. I want to congratulate Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. They're going to kill me. Sorority for their 115th Founders Day. And the great quality of service that they provide across the nation, but particularly in the city of Greensboro. And I'd like to also congratulate Delta Sigma Theta for their 80th celebration of their local chapter here. That will be next month, but I won't be here the first meeting of next month. I'll be out of the country. But I want to congratulate them as well, but I will represent the mayor at their event in February. I'd like Mayor to read the following. I move that effective February 1, 2023, that the City Council of the City of Greensboro award the city manager a merit increase, setting his new annualized salary at $300,000.
Second.
So that was moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Mrs. Hightower. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mrs. Hoffman,
Yes.
and that passes 9-0. Oh, sorry, 8-1. All against, say no? No, sorry, I apologize. Mr. Matheny? Mrs. Hoffman,
Nothing. Thank you, Mayor.
Mrs. Thurm,
Nothing tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Holston?
I have a couple of things.
Of course.
One, happy new year. Two, many of you all know that I serve as the liaison for the War Memorial Commission, and things are just as red hot as ever, just really excited about it. This past weekend, as I drove past, didn't go through, but they had the Monster Jam event, and it was a jam at the Coliseum. It was just, every parking space was taken. It was exciting. Have the Eagles coming up later on in the spring.
Yeah, and it's a council meeting.
What's that?
The Eagles, you said?
Yes,
Yeah, and it's a council meeting.
yeah.
They're gonna have to,
Oh,
they're gonna have
wow.
to schedule better.
Wow, I don't know, because there's a history there of maybe
Yeah,
stepping out. At Tanger, we have some more and comedians coming on February 10. We have at the Coliseum, we have the trifecta of sports. We have the ACC tournament, men's and women's, and then we have the first and second round of the NCAA. It's just an exciting time for the Coliseum. Earlier this evening, we also voted, and this is going to be an impactful reputational thing for the security lane. It's going to be a faster security lane coming in. Greensboro joining other communities in getting its folks into the event, into the arena, and that's just exciting. I also had the opportunity to share in the MLK activities, the Shabbat at the temple. Thank you, Councilwoman Thurm, for the invitation. Also, the City of Greensboro, the Human Rights Commission put on an excellent MLK breakfast. And then following that, I also joined my fellow council members at the St. James Presbyterian for the interfaith worship service, which was really, really awesome. Just next is, in addition to, and last meeting, I was mentioning the Divine Nine. The Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity had its founding on January 5th. It's J5. Mayor Pro Tem Johnson mentioned those for Alpha Kappa Alpha and also Delta Sigma Theta. Additionally, in January, we have Phi Beta Sigma fraternity is celebrated its founding on January 9th, and Zeta Phi Beta sorority is celebrated theirs on the 16th. So it's a divine time for the Divine Nine in the month of January. And Madam Mayor, that completes my comments. Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. Gate City 180, Dana Daughtry, they had an excellent event this past weekend downtown, handing out sleeping bags. They got food, clothing, some other good things were there. It was a great event for a time when it was really, really cold, and those sleeping bags and socks and other things were very, very helpful. So thanks to Gate City 180 and all the sponsors who supported that event. It was a wide range of sponsors doing that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
thank you. Ms. Abuzawader?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Along with Mrs. Hightower, I want to congratulate Captain Brown for being the first African-American female captain in the fire department. I think that is something, as she said, that we should all celebrate. Been a long time coming. I too went to many of the Martin Luther King Jr. weekend events, starting out with the Temple Emmanuel. Thank you, Mrs. Thurm. She saved a row for us so we could all sit together, and ending with the St. James service on Monday. That was the last event I attended. But in between, there were a couple that I do want to highlight. On Saturday evening, we had the GOAT Awards at Carolina Theater, the greatest of all time, highlighting the community businesses and the community heroes who actually do work in the community every day, not your normal people who always get the awards and recognitions. And there were many of our employees who got awards and recognitions of support. I know the mayor was there with me. Let's see, who else?
Was that GOAT, Mrs. Hightower?
Oh, that's right. You were at the GOAT. I'm sorry. I missed you sitting in the audience, but you did speak. So it was just a great event that really brought the community together, and it was supported and put on by Families Against Senseless Killings and the Mothers Standing Against Gun Violence. The mayor was kind enough to let me sign on to a proclamation with her declaring a ceasefire weekend and month for the month of January. Unfortunately, one of the ladies who was nominated in December to receive an award for best taxpayer, had items like best taxpayer, best barber,
Preparer.
best tax preparer. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, well, taxpayer. Yeah. But anyway, she was nominated in December to be in that category. And unfortunately, she was our first homicide of the year. She was gunned down around 1:00 a.m. on January 1st. And her family came and accepted her award because she did win the category. The voting was done all in the month of December and part of January. But all of the people coming together to stop gun violence, and then someone like her who is gunned down. So I commend the group. Several employees were there. I know Angie Lord was there as well. Tebony was there. Few of our officers got awards. Officer Guy got the GOAT Award, and Captain Martis received the support award, community support award. So there were several other city employees there. I remember Regina Glaspie, Brittany Carroll. I know I'm going to miss someone, so I
Angie.
apologize. Oh, I did say you
Oh,
earlier.
no, Angie.
Oh, I did.
Okay.
I said Angie. And I'm probably going to miss some, but just wanted to highlight that a lot of people in the community did come to the awards, and it'll be even bigger and better next year. And I hope to see some more faces there. The second thing I wanted to mention was as liaison to the Human Rights Commission, I am very proud of the work they have done for so many years in putting on the Martin Luther King breakfast. Of course, they had to do it virtually for several years due to COVID. This year, it had to limit the tables, but it did seem to work out well, and it was wonderful. I wanted to congratulate the Human Rights Commission members and also the Human Rights Department staff and the MLK Junior Planning Committee that always works diligently for almost a whole year on the breakfast itself. There was a Dudley High School drumline, the singers, Nikita Green, who is the Chief Inclusion Officer at Cone Health, spoke. It was just a wonderful, wonderful morning. So appreciate everyone who attended that. And I know many of us did. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Think Councilwoman Councilwoman Elizabeth failed to mention that her husband received one of those GOAT
Oh, that's right.
awards on Saturday night. And of the events that have been mentioned on Sunday evening at 4, the Pulpit Forum had a service at St. Matthew's, and Reverend Steve Allen was a speaker. And that was a great event also.
Yeah. Thank you.
I just have one thing, and it may be on our next agenda, but maybe we can take care of it now. We have been asked to move our April 17th or April 18th meeting to April 17th. So move it from the Tuesday to that Monday. There is going to be the installation of the bronze sculpture that Victoria Milstein did. She wouldn't take her boots off. And that is a statue memorializing those lost in the Holocaust. We will be the first in North Carolina. I'm not sure how many throughout the country, but they're having people come in from out of town and they were not able to schedule it for the 18th. So I would like to change that from the 18th to the 17th.
Is
Move the item, Mayor.
Madam Mayor, is the planning and zoning that same night or no?
Um,
No?
I don't know if it's planning and zoning.
They typically are the Monday before a council meeting.
Yeah, I think it is.
I move we change the date it's from the 18th to the 17th
And
to the 17th.
that was Mrs. Hoffman. So can I say moved by Mrs. Hoffman, second?
I'll second it, Ms. Hoffman. You go right ahead.
We're gonna have to figure out what to do with the zoning meeting, but
Yeah, zoning is meeting on Wednesday this week, so it's possible that they might be willing to do that.
and this gives them plenty of time to
Yes,
handle
correct.
notification.
So it's not wouldn't be a precedent for the zoning commission to change their meeting date.
So
Do you need a second? Second?
it was moved by Mrs. Hoffman, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 9-0. So if you would adjust your calendars accordingly, thank you.
Somebody remind us all.
Angie?
This is me.
Madam Mayor, I will send out an updated
Thank you.
calendar invite for that day.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
that.
you. Mr. City Manager?
Well, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to continue to work with you and the good work we've started to build on that. So thank you. I would like to remind everyone that our annual strategy session, council strategy session, is February 2nd and February 3rd. So we'll be having that at Revolution Mill.
I won't be here, but
Yes.
if I could get a review from you when I get back, I'd appreciate it.
So, Mr. Matheny, are you missing the strategy session? Mr. Matheny's having surgery. It would be unfortunate if we had two council members not at the 2-day sessions.
What
definitely-
time are we starting and how long are they? Are
It's
they
an
all?
all-day session on February 2nd, and it's really an all-day session for both. We'll have dinner the evening of February 2nd, and we'll have John on February 3rd at 3 p.m. But because we want to also give you an opportunity to receive a presentation on the legislative agenda, and the earliest we really can do that will be February 3rd. So that
We
will be
could do that on the
afternoon.
January 26th work session because we really
We
need,
do that as
we
well.
really need the legislative agenda approved.
If we can, on the 26th, that will be fine. Yeah, but the plan is to adjourn on February 3rd at 3 p.m.
I'll do my best. I'm having shoulder surgery that Monday,
Okay. Oh, I thought it was February 8th.
the 30th.
Okay,
So
Um,
Chris, I may need you to help me drive.
Well, we can always send GPD to go pick you up. You can, yeah. You can get a ride over to the Revolution Mill.
I'm
So that
happy to
would-
drive you.
Excuse me?
I said, I'm happy to drive Zach if he needs a ride.
Yeah. So, that might be something for your consideration.
Okay.
Driving Mr. Daisy.
thank you.
Yes. I'm sorry, were you through, Mr. City Manager? Mr. City Attorney?
I have nothing. Good night.
Move to adjourn.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Mr. Holston. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Mrs. Hoffman?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.